can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits.
I think Ratcliffe, if I can be honest, is quite an obnoxious character.
Jim Ratcliffe is a stinking hypocrite.
You should know that they don't like being called racist.
That looks like a form of colonisation.
Sounds a little bit racist to me, Starmer. I don't know. So Jim Ratcliffe has said the UK has been colonised and the backlash has been nothing but extraordinary. So let's look at the clip that we're talking about and then get into it.
If you really want to deal with the major issues of immigration, with people opting to take benefits rather than working for a living, if you want to deal with that, then you're going to have to do some things which are unpopular and show some courage.
And has this government done that?
No, I think I don't know whether it's just the apparatus that hasn't allowed Keir to do it, or he's maybe too nice. He's a nice, I mean, I know Keir, he's a nice man, I like him. It's a tough job, and I think you have to do some difficult things with the UK to get it back on track, because at the moment, I don't think the economy is in a good... You can't afford... You can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits, huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause...
It's been colonised.
It'll cause... Well, yeah. The UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million. That's 12 million.
According to the Office of National Statistics, in mid-2020, about 9.3 million UK residents were foreign-born. That's roughly 14% of the total population. So he didn't get the numbers right exactly, but I do want to show you something. In 1991, the UK had about 57 million people, and around 54 million of them were recorded as white. By 2021, the total population had grown to about 67 million, while the number identifying as white British was about 49.6 million. So over 30 years, the country grew roughly by 10 million people overall, while the white British population fell by a few million in absolute terms. That is the shift shown here. If the same trajectory continues, by 2050, the UK population would sit somewhere around 76 to 78 million. The white British population would roughly be 45 to 47 million, making up about 54 to 56% of the country. That projection assumes the same pace of demographic change we saw from 1991 to 2021 extended forward. These are numbers from the Office of National Statistics. As I've stated, this isn't my opinion. That's what's happening. So now we've got all that out of the way, let's get into the aftermath, the backlash, because Ratcliffe has apologised. Let's start with that. BBC reports Ratcliffe says sorry his language offended some people after criticism of immigration comments. So he's not directly saying he's sorry or his views have changed, but he's sorry that he's offended people. As you can imagine, the response to all of this has been astronomical. So let's go through all of the online comments and see what the public is saying, as well as the backlash. Katie Hopkins says, well done to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Do not apologise, my love. Never apologise. Never explain. It only excites.
Breaking news here in batshit bonkers Britain, where it's going to be a brilliant day. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come out and said that the UK has been colonised by immigrants, I mean largely illegals. And of course all those who depend on the Muslim vote, because Muslims vote according to religion, say that this is terribly offensive and he should apologise. Well no, it's just true, and he absolutely should not apologise. So Jim, if you're watching this, do not apologise. Never apologise.
This morning over on Talk TV with Jeremy Kyle, someone called into the studio and made these comments as well.
Jeremy, it's Dan from Kent. So Keir Starmer thinks we're a proud, tolerant and diverse country. We may have been decades ago. That's before he was deemed as racist or far right for putting an English flag up. Illegal immigration has totally changed the face of our country. So again, that's just your average Joe in the UK.
Liz Webster says, well said, Matthew Said. You can't wrap yourself in the Union Jack, denounce immigration and then move to Monaco to save $4 billion in tax.
I think Ratcliffe, if I can be honest, is quite an obnoxious character. I don't like the fact he's got a very inspirational backstory, working class background in the north of England, and he talked about himself as a great patriot and wrapped himself in the Union Jack, and then having benefited from this country, been educated in this country, when he had the opportunity to offshore his tax liability, he saved, I think, $4 billion by going to Monaco. And I think that's deeply hypocritical. On immigration, I don't like the language.
I think it's one thing to talk about the tax and everything else. I can agree with that. Totally agree with that. To ignore the statistics and the numbers and the trajectory of the way this country is going is another thing. And he mentioned there about the words how it makes you feel. Esther Kraku says, that's not an apology. He's sorry people were offended. Heckling a grown man for stating his opinion, which won't change, instead of debunking the substance of his point, which at this point, we've still not seen anyone do. This is a poster that's on London Underground, Poems on the Underground, and it says, Colonisation in reverse. As 49 says, more and more people are being brave enough to step up and talk about what mass migration and open borders are doing to Western countries. And that's a good thing. Here we have a wonderful lefty having a bit of a meltdown about Jim. So let's see what she says. Ash Sarkar.
Jim Ratcliffe is a stinking hypocrite. Firstly, he became a tax resident of Monaco. That's £4 billion that could have gone towards British schools, British NHS, could have gone towards British defence. Instead, he decided he wanted that money for his own pockets. Secondly, if it wasn't for immigration, I think that Man United would have had about 3 of their starting 11 last night. So Kobbie Mainoo, Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire. Not really going to beat West Ham with that, are you? And the kind of language of being colonised by immigrants, that moves beyond talking about immigration as a policy, which I'm all for. We should talk about every area of policy. You're talking about people, and you're talking about people who've come here to live, to work, to have families, as though they're a hostile, occupying force, taking away your language, your culture, your ability to survive. Yeah.
OK, Ash, so let's look at some of your previous comments, shall we?
In London, the white British population has decreased by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2 million. So, yes, lads, we're winning.
Yes, lads, we are winning, referring to her community. OK then, but as always, all of the fun and games doesn't end there. We head over to another Talk TV interview with Julie Hart-Brewer and James Mathewson.
You should know that they don't like being called racist, and they don't like acknowledging.
I think people who aren't racist don't like being called racist.
No. Nobody likes being called racist.
Do you think I'm racist?
Actually racist.
Do you think I'm racist?
I think you've said racist things in the past, but I don't know, Julie. I don't know what's inside you. I don't know what's inside your head. That's what we don't know about anyone. It's like the same as Donald Trump. We don't know what's inside his head. We have to work off his actions and his words, you know?
What have I said that's racist?
Come on, Julia. We're not going to have this discussion live on air. It's ridiculous. I haven't got everything you've ever said.
No, I wouldn't expect you to, but you have a view you formed of me. I know 100% that I have never thought or said anything that is racist.
Because I don't think you would have said it if you thought it was racist, would you? You know, but I think it comes from sometimes
you would think it was racist.
Ignorance. It comes from ignorance.
So my ignorance.
People on the left that have this mindset, you know, men can get pregnant and all of this sort of nonsense. And it's the same people with Ratcliffe. They're arguing about the words that he's used, not really tackling what he's actually saying, which is rather strange, isn't it? Simon Jordan over on Talk Sport says, if you walk around certain parts of the country, you will see a particular community. They want Sharia law, no Jews and cousin marriage. But again, if you call these things out, people have a meltdown. He also says that looks like a form of colonisation.
But the underlying
immigration isn't colonisation.
But the underlying message and the underlying sentiments, and we can zero in on the colonisation side of things, and I make the point again. If you walk around certain parts of this country and you look at certain towns, and I use the Aston Villa example as a particular case in point, where we have a particular community that in part wants to have Sharia law in this country, that in part decided that Israelis and Jews were not permitted to go into that particular part of the country, there is an argument that some people would make, not necessarily me, that looks like a form of colonisation. Now, I wouldn't use those terminologies, and I don't think Jim Ratcliffe should have done.
You mentioned Sharia law. It doesn't operate as a parallel legal system in the UK, has no binding legal jurisdiction, according to the Home Office.
According to the Home Office, but Sharia law, it's not Sharia law, it's Sharia law. If someone gets married or gets divorced in the United Kingdom under British law, that's our laws. That does not mean a Muslim woman is actually divorced, because under Sharia law, she's still married. You could say that it's not legally binding in this country, but it changes how people behave and act in this country. So to say none of these are being affecting this nation is absolute nonsense. Let's look at the statements about cousin marriage, for example. Again, we've covered this on the channel. This is from last year. A couple defend first cousin marriages amid a ban call. Well, it should be banned because no one should be sleeping with their relatives. The official yougov.co.uk website says, should you be allowed to marry your cousin? 3/4 of Britons say no. Heading over stateside now. We've got one that says from Fox News, it says David Marcus, UK's promotion of first cousin marriage at odds with Western culture. The Prime Minister, that's Sir Keir Starmer has blocked the vote to ban marriages common in some immigrant communities despite acknowledged genetic risks to children. Lucy Ward says TalkSport allowing Jordan Unchecked to spout his nonsense to support Ratcliffe. When people show you who they are, believe them. Speaking of which, let's head over to our supreme leader, Keir Starmer. Offensive and wrong. Britain is a proud, tolerant and diverse country. Jim Ratcliffe should apologise. OK. He's making a point. But is he a little bit of a hypocrite? Let's find out. The UK risks becoming an island of strangers.
Now, in a diverse nation like ours, and I celebrate that, these rules become even more important. Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers.
Sounds a little bit racist to me, Starmer. I don't know. So let me know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think Ratcliffe should have apologised? Or do you think his statement originally was true? You've seen the numbers and the trajectory of which we're heading for in the UK. Those are from the ONS. It's not me making that up. We will be back again tomorrow night at 7 p.m, where I look forward to entertaining you once again. So please subscribe to the channel and I'll see you guys again soon.